It wasn't that long ago, well, it's probably been 30, 40 years now, in which the RBA and APRA were one organisation. APRA, I believe, was spun out in, 96, 97, where macroprudential controls were basically separated from qualitative easing controls. How does that work? I mean, the problem is one of the issues that we have with our banking system in this country is that we have so many people, different departments responsible for monetary policy and regulating the efficient transaction of goods and services in a productive manner. Do you find it frustrating? Does Treasury find it frustrating, the RBA find it frustrating that your sort of left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing?
I wouldn't characterise their engagements with the RBA or any of our regulatory colleagues as frustrating. So the topic of how the various Treasury and the regulators engage is an important one. So we have quarterly meetings of the Council of Financial Regulators, and sitting underneath those, there's a range of working groups which are all the different members of the CFR participate in, and those are quite effective ways to bring some of that coordination. I think the RBA review, and I might pass to my colleague, in terms of the issues like macroprudential policy, that is something where there are strong overlaps and interests from the different parties, but we, through the CFR, share perspectives and form views to make sure that we have a kind of a collective and considered understanding of what everyone's doing.
And the CFR includes Treasury, APRA and the RBA?
And ASIC.
And ASIC, okay. Because it begs the question, when the RBA, and I'll be quite frank here, recklessly lowered interest rates to 0.1%, that then forced the government to then lower the deeming rates on the pension, which meant we had to pay higher pensions. So this is what I mean about your departments not necessarily working together in a manner. It just seems strange. The RBA is independent, but that the Treasury isn't, because the Treasuries, the decisions made by the RBA impact Treasury. And then on the other hand, we had Paul Keating in 1985 just lift total capital controls altogether. And, now we've got ING and Rabobank controlling, agricultural loans in Australia because our Big Four are too lazy to do it. Do you think that maybe we need to review our monetary and macroprudential settings?
Well, we've just had a review of the RBA, which considered...
Senator Reck, I've been listening to questioning closely. Keep in mind the directive that we don't ask officials' opinions on matters, but happy to let the official answer as they see fit.
Well, I guess it comes back to the fact now that basically our Big Four are leaving the regions, Big Four branches are leaving the regions, and, we've got ING, Rabobank looking after, being the big dominant lenders now in agricultural lending. APRA's not here anymore, but is that something you're concerned about?
Are we concerned about agribusiness lending? Is that the question?
I mean, if I was running, and I don't want to, I suppose it's hard with opinion, but, I look at it and think, well, why has this happened? I mean, basically, we've now got our four major banks lending something like 70% in retail mortgages. They're highly vulnerable to the mortgage market, and maybe, when we relaxed those capital controls in 1985, we've let the mortgage market rip, and we've turned our back on business, and that's underlying the stability of our economy, especially our small business, who are finding it harder and harder to get loans, to the extent now whereby major banks are debanking genuine small business.
Well, there's a couple of elements to that, Senator. I think that the debanking issues often relate to how banks are having to deal with issues around anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism type issues. In terms of the agribusiness business lending piece, I mean, there have been, ING, you've mentioned, is not known for having a big branch network, for example. There are other banks that are active in that space, and some of them relatively recent entrants who have quite innovative and novel ways of providing credit to small business and to agribusiness, including through relationship banking services, where maybe the banker might travel to the farm or what have you. So I think we have seen some significant changes in how the banking sector is servicing the needs of businesses. I'm not trying to suggest that it's necessarily perfect, but I think that I just would point out some of those changes in the marketplace.
Okay, thanks.
Authorised G. Rennick, LNP Chermside.